Hi, everybody. It's Miriam. I'm your teacher. How are you today? I hope everything's going well and you're looking forward to writing your next big essay. I'm going to share my screen. Today, we're going to talk about introductions and conclusions. Introductions and conclusions. The introduction has three parts: the hook, the background, and the thesis statement. There are many different types of hooks. Just make sure it's a little bit different than the rest of your essay. It's just not the same exact stuff. The reason it's called a hook is it needs to be catchy. Be careful, this is the rule, that it can't be something that everyone knows. Everyone knows this stuff. So those aren't good hooks. Unless, and I'm going to get to one exception where you could use something that everyone knows. The hook is the first sentence of the whole thing. So you have your title, which is unique and interesting and not the same as anyone else's. And then the hook is a really great opportunity for you to be creative. And you can even break this rule under one condition. So the most popular, easiest kind of hook there is the W question. Who, what, where, when, why. Also how many, how much. Really make sure that you don't use you in your W question, okay? You got it. Another kind of hook is the quote from a famous person from the past, you know, someone who's dead, Sojourner Truth, Martin Luther King Jr., the present, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, Maya Angelou. Did you think the next one was going to be the future? No. How is that possible? One other way to find the hooks easily is to go to this website, brainyquote.com, and you go into this search and you just search whatever you want to quote about, right? If you want to quote about medicine, or you want to quote about parachutes, or you want to quote about heaven or pineapples, whatever, there's probably one with that in there. Here's one about cancer. Make sure once you've got your hook, if you're using a quote, you put it in quotation marks, you cite your source, and here's where you find the place to cite the source. You see my arrow right here. Make sure you cite it, and it when you click on the place right there, it tells you how to do it. There's APA style, Chicago style, and MLA style. Another kind of hook is a connection to a famous person or to current events. Make sure you're catching the reader's attention. Here's an example. Donald Trump said that teaching about racism might promote divisions in the country, right? That's very interesting. Other current events. Another kind of hook is a little joke or an anecdote. Don't let your little joke be like 10 pages long. We don't want a shaggy dog story. We want a very short little joke. That's one of my favorite kinds of hooks. You can easily Google jokes about whatever you want. Remember to cite your source wherever you get the jokes. As far as an anecdote, that just means a little short story. A relevant personal story is fine. If it's great if you're not going to be personal anywhere else in the essay, okay? So if the whole essay is the story about the day you almost died, the hook shouldn't be a personal story. That doesn't make sense. One of the other exciting kinds of hooks is called a twist. They start with something that everyone knows, but then they disagree with it. So here's the time where you can start with something everyone knows, but then you disagree the rest of the whole rest of the essay. This might be where your antithesis is. These are examples. So the rest of the essay is going to be that beauty is skin deep, that skin is important to beauty, or superficial things can tell you something. This kind of hook is also going to talk about something about covers of books, you know, where they came from, who's the artist, something like that. That authors spend a long time looking at the covers of their books and deciding and making big choices about the covers of their books. Now, this is going to be an essay that psychics are not charlatans, that they're honest and trustworthy and you can believe what they say, or examples of times where psychics were correct. Actually, the sky is not blue. The reason that it looks blue is because of reflecting of water or something about space. I don't know. Another kind of hook would be shocking information. If you're ever reading along and you go, oh my God, or you're reading along and you say, oh honey, you have to look at this. Did you know, right? Mark that down because that's going to be a good hook. Any kind of shocking statistic or something that nobody knows, great hook. After the hook, you're going to have the background, right? The hook is going to be very short, the first sentence of the introduction, maybe a couple sentences. The background also is just a couple of sentences, and it's the transition between the hook to the thesis statement. These are some examples of good background information. Why are you the expert? Who's your main source and why are they the experts? When did this happen? Where did this happen? These are some examples of background information. Somehow you have to transition us, your reader. And finally, the thesis statement. This is the most important part of the whole essay. It may or may not have these 4 topics. Of course, it's definitely going to have the topic. It's definitely going to have an opinion or a controlling idea about the topic. It may or may not, number 3, have the plan of the upcoming paragraphs where you list what are the next paragraphs going to be and in what order. And number 4, not everybody thinks of this, but probably you're going to give a clue about what type of essay it is. Is it cause and effect? Is it classification and division? Is it a narrative? Is it a process, right? There's 9 different types of essays. We can go over that another day, but a little bit of a clue. Here's some examples. 3 reasons people become vegetarians are animal rights, personal health, and the environment. So the topic is becoming a vegetarian. The opinion, my opinion is that there's 3. A reasonable person might disagree and say, oh no, there's 4. Oh no, there's only 1. Oh, there's 2, right? That's the opinion. The plan is animal rights will be the next paragraph. Personal health will be the middle paragraph, and the penultimate paragraph will be the environment because that's the most important part to the person who wrote that. And the clue about what type of essay is 3 reasons. So I see that this is a cause and effect essay. The reasons are the causes. Get it? Here's another example of a thesis statement. There are 6 main steps that trees go through to produce oxygen. The topic is trees producing oxygen. The opinion is, again, that it's 6. Some people would say 5. Some people would say 7. The plan, this doesn't have a plan, but it's still okay. And the clue is that it says steps, so it's probably a process essay. Here's another example of a good thesis statement. You see what the topic is. The U-turn sign. The opinion is that it should. Should always indicates that it's an opinion. Some people will disagree. Obviously, someone put it up, so they thought it was a good idea. There's no plan here. That's okay. And the clue is that it's persuasive. Here's another thesis statement. We definitely have the topic. We do not have an opinion. So this is unusual, but we do have a controlling idea. We don't understand the plan and we don't have a clue. Maybe this is not a good thesis statement, right? It doesn't have 3 out of the 4 of those things. I'm going to go with this is a fact. So this is not a thesis statement, okay? Not a good thesis statement. After that is the body of the essay. It's going to have topic sentences for every body paragraph, lots of details, specifics, examples, quotes, sources. And then finally, the conclusion. The transition into the conclusion is nice. I like it. Other English teachers think it's boring, it's tired. Oh, that's so high school. I like it. So ask your professor. If you ask your professor, your classmates will appreciate you because they were too shy to ask the professor. They'll be grateful for you. So ask it in public in front of everyone so you all know the answers. They will appreciate you. Here are some conclusion ideas. Don't put all 6 of them in one conclusion. Just a few of these would be wonderful. Summarize the main points. Number 1, make sure you use different words. You're basically paraphrasing your thesis statement and your topic sentences. So this is conclusion idea number 1. Conclusion idea number 2, you could return to the hook. If you started with a question, now you might answer the question in the conclusion if you haven't answered it yet. If you started with a hook, you could return to, oh, that person said this thing. That might be a good place to return to that in some way, mention that. If you started with a famous person or a current event, follow up on that. What happened in the end, right? Where are we at with this situation now? You started with a joke, you might say, really, this is no laughing matter. It's a very serious topic, blah, blah, blah. You started with an anecdote, again, tell the end of the story. If you started with a twist, you might return to that and say, yeah, admittedly, a lot of people disagree. It's not common knowledge. It's not, and if you started with shocking information, maybe you want to mention, I know it was shocking, right? So those are a nice, very nice conclusion ideas. Another conclusion idea is if this didn't do it for your conclusion in some way, any unused hook. You started with a question, maybe now you're gonna use an anecdote. You started with a quote at the hook, maybe now you'll give a shocking fact or a current event or something like that. All of these hooks make very nice conclusions as well. If you haven't put them anywhere in your essay, maybe now's the time. Here's another conclusion idea, very popular, a prediction or a suggestion for the future. Maybe you want to say one of these. Got it? One of my favorite conclusion ideas, which is not easy, probably we would never be able to do this under test-taking situations because it takes a lot of thinking, but if you come up with a great analogy, here is a beautiful place to put it. You can put it earlier in the essay, but it does make a lovely conclusion. An analogy, comparing 2 ideas from 2 very different categories. Categories would be like animals, jobs, foods, activities, diseases, emotions, sports, buildings. I'm sure you can think of a million other things that are categories. Here are some examples. So here I have the in conclusion. I have the transition into the conclusion. I'm returning to the hook. I'm summarizing the rest of the essay. And here's the analogy. Oops. Another analogy. Transition in. Purple one is the analogy. The black one is the return to the hook. And finally, I have a strong conclusion, like a conclusive sentence. If you have questions, please put them in the comments section or email me. Another conclusion idea is some sort of philosophical final statement, just completely end the essay strongly. We saw that in the previous slide. Nevertheless, it's a worthy project. Right? A decisive last statement. Another conclusion idea, think about these important questions. This should be catchy. Here's a meme. Oh, sorry, can you see it? Unless everyone, sorry, gets them. Finally, really important, this is the rule of conclusions. Don't break this rule. You can never have any new ideas in the conclusion. So now you're not like, and another thing, this is not the time for and another thing. Another reason, no. All right, thanks for listening. Have a great night. Good luck on your next essay.